Purim crown.
Your Purim crown, yeah.
It's the last time I get to wear it.
And there are folks over on Zoom too, you can see.
I see. Hi everyone. Chag Sameach, Shabbat Shalom. It's so nice to be with you all this evening. So yes, I'm wearing my crown for Purim. I happen to think it's a fun holiday and I want to live it up. It's almost over. But to begin tonight, I wanted to share a line of Talmud with you that I came across. It says that Rav Yehuda said, the Rav said, a person should always enter with "it is good," and they should leave with "it is good." So, I know we're not going anywhere these days, but I think this advice still really applies to each and every one of us. That when we start something, instead of looking for the fault, we look for what is good. We immediately notice what we love and remind ourselves how lucky we are to be there and be a part of that thing. And the same when we leave, that we pause for a moment to recognize the good and be grateful for the experience. And so I wanted to also bring this because I think it's such a good way to begin Shabbat. To begin with gratitude, to begin with those things that we want to let go from the past week and we need to let go so we can appreciate the things in our lives that are good, that we can bring good to Shabbat with us. So we move into Kabbalat Shabbat as we let go of all those things we want to let go of and begin Shabbat with the good.
So, Shabbat Shalom to Leslie also.
Shabbat Shalom.
Good to see you. It was so wonderful to be with you and with everyone last week at Shabbat Kulanu. It felt so like being at CRC almost, right? It took a year.
We've been in a long time.
Right, it took a year of pandemic for all of us being together on Zoom to feel like all of us being together, but somehow it felt like all of it. Yeah, I'm seeing the Zoom people here nodding along. Speaking of which, if you're on the live stream, there is a link if you want to be on the Zoom and be with some other folks too on the website, centralreform.org. So Leslie, I think you're going to help us welcome Shabbos with Shalom Aleichem, which is this sort of, it's a folk melody, but it's also a folk story, really. Shalom Aleichem is the story. It imagines angels, like almost like that cartoon picture of the good angel and the bad angel on your shoulders. And Shalom Aleichem imagines that there are these angels there, malachim. In Judaism, of course, angels can be troublemakers. And just as we're returning home for Shabbos, is the idea, is we're going into our homes, if we are ready for Shabbos, like spiritually ready, emotionally ready, if we have gotten ourselves to that place, then we're told that the good angel whispers in our ear all Shabbos. And if we are not ready, the mischievous angel whispers in our ear all week. It's uneven here. I feel like I get some mischievous whispering sometimes.
Does it say anything about how much time you leave to get ready for Shabbat? You're rushing around.
We welcome those angels of Shabbos with Leslie.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch baruch. Boachem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Melech, malachei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. Baruch hu shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Melech, malachei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. Tzedechem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Melech, malachei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu.
So we welcome Shabbos. Thank you, Leslie.
That was like a perfect way.
I know, it was perfect. So we welcome Shabbos by lighting these candles. So if you are on Zoom, if you're at home, wherever you are, we invite you, if you've got candles near you, to light them or to
Send light out. Either way.
Feel the light. Yeah, Leslie will send light to all of us.
Light into our world either way.
A first time. This is yes, no. Come on, burn. Ah! In CRC fashion. All right. Take light into yourself. You take light into yourself first. Okay, I'm spreading it out to everybody. Is everybody feeling it? A little bit of Shabbat light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshon b'mitzvotav, v'tzivonu l'chadlik ner shel Shabbat. V'tzivonu l'chadlik ner shel Shabbat.
I forgot about the computers there for Leslie, or for a minute, Leslie. It was just you and the candles and Shabbos.
So we take that Shabbat light into Lecha Dodi. Oh, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Who's writing Shabbat Shalom? It's good to see you all.
Shabbat Shalom, Steve and Jill and Sean and Kayla.
Don.
Edna and Don.
So typically Lecha Dodi would have 6 psalms leading up to it, which really echoed the 6 days of the week, being that we rest on Shabbat, and we have to go through all 6 days of the week in order to get to Shabbat and greet the Sabbath bride. So just take a moment to think back over your week, the highs, the lows. If there's something you want to share, we'd love to hear about it. You can put it in the chat, something from your week, but take a moment to let it go and think back over your week as we move into Shabbat with Lecha Dodi.
bela ולך דודי לקראת קלה נשבה נקה הבלה שמו וזרחו בדיבורך השמיענו אל המיוחד אדונייך ושמו אחד לשם ותפארת ולתהילה ולך דודי לקראת קלה ונשבה נקבלה ולך דודי לקראת קלה ונשבה נקבלה התעוררי כי בא אורך קומי אורי אורי שתדברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה ולך דודי לקראת קלה ונשבה נקבלה ולך דודי לקראת קלה ונשבה נקבלה.
So we take a moment, if you choose to rise spiritually or physically, to welcome the Sabbath bride. You can turn and face the entrance that you entered your room in.
אוי ושלום תרבלה גם בשמחה ובצולה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה בואי חלה ולך דודי לקראת קלה ונשבה נקבלה ולך דודי לקראת קלה ונשבה נקבלה נשבה לך קבלה.
So we have one more of Kabbalat Shabbat. It's called Anabakoa, but it's actually known as the prayer of the Kabbalist, and it's from the 2nd century. There's a lot of gematria, which is where Hebrew letters equal a number, and you can add up the letters to supposedly have like special encoded phrases. So this poem actually has 42 letters written in 7 sentences of 6 words each. The 7 sentences corresponding to the 7 days of the week, the 7 specific angels, and to a particularly heavenly body. And also, the letters that make up this poem are encoded with the first 42 letters in the book of Genesis. So they say that this poem takes us back to the time of creation, where we can return to that sort of energy that existed in our world. So we join, and if you were to look at this, not on the screen, you would see that it's written in a really specific way. So we welcome that energy and that Shabbat energy with Anabakoa.
Anabakoa gedulat yemincha tatitzelura kaberinat rinatamcha sagvenu tarenu nohora yam Anabakoa gedulat yemincha tatitzelura kaberinat rinatamcha sagvenu tarenu nohora.
So we take in a cleansing breath as we move out of Kabbalat Shabbat into the Shema and its blessings, which begins with the Baruch Hu, our call to prayer, our call to community.
So I think I'm going to call an audible, and we're going to do Chatzi Kaddish too.
Okay, call an audible.
There's Kaddishes in the liturgy, which are really just these, what do you call them, like commas and semicolons and punctuation. It's the fancy words. It's the punctuation of the liturgy. It lets us know the moments of pause and the moments of transition. And I don't know, I'm feeling like I need a little more transition this week. Chatzi Kaddish.
It's Purim.
It's Purim. Yeah, we're transitioning out of Purim. They're definitely, yes, exactly.
Do I have to take off my crown?
You can leave your crown on.
Okay.
As long as you want, sweetheart.
Okay.
Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabba Be'alma divrach irtev yamlich malchuteh b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchayedecho be'Yisrael Bagala ubizman kariv v'yimeru amen Yehesh Rabba mevorach le'olam olam me'almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'yiromam v'yitnaseh v'yitada v'yitale v'yitalal shamei dekudashah b'richu leila min kol bechata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata tamiran be'alma v'yimeru amen. So for Baruch Hu, we traditionally turn towards Jerusalem. Wherever we are, we turn towards Jerusalem. So for many American Jews, we always think of this as turning towards the east, right? But it's our Ashkenormativity. I love this word. It's an important word, actually, right? The notion that we sometimes treat Ashkenazi Judaism as normal Judaism, right? But of course it's not, particularly if you go to Israel. But wherever you are, you turn towards Jerusalem. So if you find yourself north of Israel, you turn south. So I've been thinking about what it means. Sure, if you're north of Israel, you turn south so that you're facing towards Jerusalem.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I'm not good with directions. It's in our ketubah.
I totally lost everything. I'm only thinking about the ketubah that says you're not allowed to override the GPS. That's our joke. But yeah.
You're talking about
we have to listen to Google Maps. Yeah.
And for us, it's east.
For us, it's wherever Google Maps points us. Yes. For us, it's east. But what it struck me is that we face towards Jerusalem, Yerushalayim, which is this odd form of the word. It's a dual form in Hebrew. Ayim, that ending tells you that there's two of something, like shtayim, which means two, or svatayim, our lips, or oznaim. I think that's my favorite Hebrew word. Your ears, your two ears, right? So it's a dual form. So there's this notion of Yerushalayim, the Jerusalem that exists and the Jerusalem that does not exist yet. We're told that Jerusalem, when the world was created, got 9 measures of beauty and 9 measures of pain. And the rest of beauty and the rest of pain was spread throughout the rest of creation. So, putting this all together, I think there's something about when we begin our prayers, when we begin the public part, when we say Baruch Hu, that we turn towards Jerusalem, that we turn towards a place of beauty and pain, that we don't turn away from these things, that we turn towards them. So wherever we are feeling that beauty, wherever we are finding that pain, we turn towards each other, turn towards that city of peace as it should be, not as it is.
This is called Evening the Evenings by Rabbi Gila Rezel Raphael. Sacred words, even the evenings. Wisdom opened gates locked around our hearts. Asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach sha'arim. Evening the evenings, evening the frayed edges of our lives. Ma'ariv aravim. Understanding alters with the times. Changing seasons, cycles divine. Uvidvunam mishaneh itim umachalif et hazmanim. Paint diamonds on the canvas called sky. Soothe our souls with a lilting lullaby. Umisader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtsono. Roll into the night, rolling away the light. Golel or mipnei choshech, golel choshech mipnei or. Spirit of the night, we bless your name. Eternal light, eternal flame. El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam v'amen.
Pages of our lives, Marim, Aravim, Amen. Marim. Evening the fringes of our Amen.
So given that it is sort of still Purim, we're going to call it still Purim, I wanted to share with you one of my favorite Purim teachings. It comes from the Baal Shem Tov, the 17th, 18th century. He was a Jewish mystical rabbi from Poland and the founder of Hasidic Judaism. He has this great Purim teaching. He says that it is a mitzvah to dress up on Purim. It is indeed a mitzvah because in this way, one cannot tell the noble man, or the noble person, he wrote man, but we're going to go with person, the noble person from the poor. And therefore they, the rabbis, instituted the mitzvah of giving gifts to the poor on Purim, because when people dress up, the mitzvah of tzedakah may be performed in its most appropriate manner. One does not know then to whom they give, and the one who receives does not know from whom they receive. And thus no one is embarrassed to appear needy or dependent on human kindness. This is the best manner of anonymous giving, when one gives while in costume to someone else in costume. So I wanted to share this with you before the Shema, because when we think about the oneness of the Shema, there's so many things that might pop into our heads. But really it's about humanity and how we are all one and how we are all equal, and how we need to be reminded of that oneness, of that humanity, of that equality that exists in all of us. And we think of Purim as a fun, sort of rowdy holiday, and it is. But there's more to it than that. And this is one of those meaningful pieces of Purim that we are also supposed to engage in every year.
Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema 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 Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. So, via Hafta, I've been thinking of this as the telemarketer reflection. You don't think of via Hafta as a reflection on
I'm
telemarketing?
gonna let you defend your thesis. Go for it.
Via Hafta is all about the idea of living our values at every moment of every day. And I don't know about all of you, I find myself at times less than pleasant with a telemarketer, particularly telemarketers who are calling with political telemarketing that maybe doesn't match up with my politics. And right, this is a human being on the other end trying to do their job. And Via Hafta is all about the idea that who we are is how we live, right? That our values really are not what we say they are. They're how we live our day and how we treat the people that we encounter, whether, right, like it's in person. And I think it's so much easier actually to probably dehumanize someone in a mask, right, without seeing their face in person. And certainly we know it's easier to dehumanize someone when they are a box on a screen, and even more so a voice on a phone. So this is the challenge, I think, of Via Hafta. How do we make sure that the values that we proclaim about ourselves, about how we live in the world, are the values that we live at every moment, when we are at home and when we are away, when we rise up and when we lie down? ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת.
So you probably aren't going to like the words I'm about to say, but Passover's around the corner.
I love Passover. I'm so excited for Passover.
I know you are. But we're done with Purim. We're almost done with Purim, and so it's time to start thinking about Passover.
We have a mixed marriage in the sense that only one of us enjoys pouring boiling water all over the counters for Passover.
Just talk about the gefilte fish incident, Daniel.
Oh yeah, one year we decided we were going to make gefilte fish from scratch.
What, we?
One year, my dad and I decided we were going to make gefilte fish from scratch.
And how many pounds of fish did you buy?
Oh my god, I think I can still smell it, actually.
I think we made like 200 pieces of gefilte fish. But anyways, I had a meeting actually with Autumn today, who I can see on Zoom, and Angela, to get Passover going. And so with Passover around the corner, we're really starting to recall our journey to freedom. But you know, one of the pieces that we don't always think about is what it felt like to be one of those people escaping Egypt, like what it really felt like to be enslaved and to live through the plagues and then to finally be given this new life. I imagine it was difficult, and there's a lot of texts that say it was difficult for the Israelites who left Egypt. And maybe they needed a little push to take that step towards freedom. So there's a short poem that really captures this. It's called You Have Stayed. And it says, you have stayed long enough in this place. God said, time to go forward. Turn to face the future. Believe that you can cross the sea and survive. Inside you is a Moses, within you Miriam dances unafraid. Lift up your voice and sing a new song. So I think we all need a little push sometimes to face our future and to take those first steps. But you know, the other lesson we learned from Passover is that we never know what will be waiting for us at the end of our journey.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדע בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, Yum diddy day 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 oh Yum diddy day yeah yiddy dum yiddy day yo yiddy day yo yiddy dum yiddy day yo yiddy day do mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha nera בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה.
move from Micha Mocha to Hashkivenu. This nighttime blessing, asking that we are watched over and that we are protected during the scariest times and the times that we feel most vulnerable, the times that we most need a Sukkot Shalom, a Sukkah of peace over our heads.
Rabbi Randy taught me these chords when I was 12 years old, when he wasn't Rabbi Randy. But there's something about the way that he sings, right? Like we all know this, I think. There's something about the way that he sings Hashkivenu that is magical, right? Like that no matter how hopeless it seems, no matter how much it seems like the world is missing that light, that somehow Rabbi Randy sings Hashkivenu, right? We keep joking, and it's not really a joke, that we're gonna clip out Randy's Hashkivenu and release it on Mondays for the beginning of the work week so that everyone can watch it. Yeah, I'm looking at Zoom and there's lots of nodding happening right now. Yeah, right. Yeah. But whenever I play these chords and Karen sings this melody to the kids at night too before bed, I try to channel a little bit of that hope. I try to feel a little bit of that hope, of that faith that Randy brings. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu L'Shalom, Hamidenu Shomreinu L'Chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu L'Shalom, Hamidenu Shomreinu L'Chaim. Allow us to lie and rise in peace. Shalom. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu L'Shalom, Hamidenu Shomreinu L'Chaim. The Randy part, the part we do with the kids.
Right.
Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's Salenu Sukkah, Sukkah Shlomecha, Uflo Salenu Sukkah, Shlomecha.
And cover over us
Tonight with a Sukkah Shalom,
a
chapter of peace
for you, for
those you love.
a Sukkah
Shalom
over
all creation. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu L'Shalom, Hamidenu Shomreinu L'Chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu L'Shalom, Hamidenu Shomreinu L'Chaim. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. So we move into the political part of the service, the Amidah, which on Shabbat is replaced. The 13 middle blessings are replaced with prayers for rest. Always a reminder, though, that rest, too, is political. I think it's even more obvious today in our world, right? In a world where, undoubtedly, right, us who have been able to work from our homes for over a year, who have been leading services like this for a year, who have been able to stay safe and sheltered and cloistered and all of those things, right? Let's not pretend that it's not a very real class divide often that determines whether or not you can be at home and safe in a pandemic, or whether you are at work, at the whims of your employer. So we move into that political. We move into those prayers for rest, and we hold on to this idea, prayers that we can find that rest, that we can find that peace, that we can find that moment apart from owning, from controlling, but also a reminder that according to the Torah, Shabbat belongs to everyone. Shabbat belongs to the animals as well. And I think that is a radical justice image, and let's not forget that. So on Friday night, we just do a short, it's called Ma'in Sheva, in place of these. So Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Velohei Avotenu Bimotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Velohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Leah Elohei Rachel Elohei Bilha Elohei Zilpah. Speaking of class divisions, two of the ancestors who were left out for classist reasons. Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanora El Elyon Konei Shamayim Va'aretz. We take a moment for a prayer for peace as we invite Leslie to sing words of peace with us.
Oh, say shalom bimromav. Huya say shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imru, amen. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Amen.
Amen.
I know I say it every time you sing during cyber services, Leslie, or online services or whatever we call this, but it just like your voice, it makes it feel like Shabbos.
Mm-hmm. It does. Adds so much like holiness to Shabbat.
So a couple words about Purim. One of the fun holidays, but one of the really problematic holidays too, by the way. The final chapter, which is not what we're going to talk about now. So I'm going to continue the tradition of avoiding
second to last.
Second to last chapter. Excuse me, the second to last chapter.
I had to read it last night.
Yeah. The second to
Well,
last.
Steve Kornacki read it. Actually.
Exactly.
It wasn't me. It was Steve.
The second to last chapter of Purim tells a piece that we often leave out, right? Because we tell the story of Haman coming and trying to kill us. We tell the story of Haman losing. We even tell the story of Haman and his children losing their necks or their heads or their whatever it is that they lose. And the piece that we don't tell often as part of the story is actually that the next part is that we go on a rampage, we being the Jews of the kingdom of Persia. We go on a rampage throughout the kingdom, sanctioned rampage, kingly sanctioned rampage. And I don't remember how many people, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of people, according to the story, right? Not that I'm suggesting we should think of this as historical in that sense, but that's how it ends. And then in fact, Esther goes to the king, 75,000. And then after we've killed 75,000 people in response to almost getting killed, Esther goes to the king and begs for another day of murderous rampaging. And we go on another day of murderous rampaging. So at some level, that is what we are celebrating with Purim, is that moment, right? And it's the part of the story that we don't tell. And I think that is part of that undercurrent of Purim. But I want to think about Purim next to Passover, because Passover is coming soon. because I think they offer different ethical models of how we respond to the world. And I think they are both Jewish ethical models because I think they are both human ethical models. I certainly have a preference. As I said before, I'm definitely a Passover Jew.
I like Sukkot.
That was good. That was good. That was like, what do you think of these earrings? Oh, I really like your bracelet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
I like your
Uh-huh.
necklace.
Yeah, it's a pretty necklace. I like your crown. Yeah.
Everybody likes a crown.
Yeah. So when we look at the ethic of Purim, it's an ethic that we see repeated so often in human reality and human history, right? Which is that something awful is about to happen to us, or something awful does happen to us, and what happens is we cycle it, right? We cycle it on to someone else, whether this is the cycle of our individual lives or collective lives or whatever that looks like, national lives. I think we can all come up with probably dozens of examples of this from today probably and from our geopolitics. But Passover is a different ethic, right? Because the response of Passover is always, you shall not oppress the widow, the orphan, or the stranger. You shall not oppress the most vulnerable of people in your midst because you were a stranger in the land of Egypt. The moral logic, the ethic of Passover is that which happens to you that is bad obligates you to prevent it from happening to others. And it's two different radical ethics, right? And I want to hold on to the Purim one too, which is the response of awful things happening to us and ensuring that they won't happen again. I think that's a part of the Purim ethic as well. But I'm definitely a Passover Jew personally, right? The notion that the things that happen to us, the bad, does obligate us. So speaking of the ger, the stranger, right? Because that's that classic line, you shall not oppress the widow, the orphan, or the stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. The word ger, stranger, in its original context, almost certainly is closest and probably most accurately translated as undocumented resident.
Oh, I have a better translation.
Oh, yeah, let's hear it.
Because we've been studying this in 9th grade.
Oh, cool, yeah.
So we've been calling the ger migrant, a migrant, which denotes movement, but isn't like a resident alien or any of those really offensive terms that have been used in the past. So that's the term we've been using in 9th grade.
I like that. So the one piece that I would, like the one thing I like about the other term about saying something undocumented is I think there is a key piece to the notion of the ger that you're not, for instance, the ger toshav. You're not which is the ancient phrase for like someone who's converted, kind of. Right, it's a different context 3,000 years ago or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So there is this lack of status, this liminality, this sense that the government isn't there to protect you in any way, which God knows for so many citizens of this country who are black and brown, they know that feeling every day. But the story I want to tell is the story of Alex, who from Alex Belongs Here. I'm not going to share his last name, but do we share his last name? I don't know.
It's in the paper.
I guess it's in the paper. Yeah.
I know. It's in the thing.
Anyways, Alex, who is married to an American citizen, has children who are American citizens, who's been in this country from Honduras. 5 children. Yeah, he's been here from Honduras for years and years and years and years. And as soon as the Trump administration began and they cracked down on folks who, right, like the Obama administration had specifically had directives to not touch. And instead of going back to Honduras away from his family, I mean, his wife and his kids and his 5 kids, right? Like the United Church of Christ in Maplewood, God love them, didn't have the facilities and they didn't care. They just redid whatever they had to, and they took him into sanctuary. And I'm going to cry. I can't tell this story without crying. He lived for 1,252 days in sanctuary until the Biden administration issued a directive that folks like him were to be the very last priority of ICE. And on Friday, I shared it on my Facebook, or you can find it on IFCLA, the Interfaith Coalition of Latin America. I encourage you to go watch this and cry and like have hope, because you see him walk out to his family, and it's heartbreaking and it's heartwarming and it's all of those things. So I felt like we couldn't talk about the Ger this week without
Yeah.
talking about an America that's better, because Alex is with his family again.
Mm-hmm. Yes, amen.
So speaking of healing that we need in this world, we take a moment for Amisha Berach L'cholim, for a prayer of healing, healing of wholeness. We call it a refuah shlema, a healing of wholeness, not just a refuat haguf, not just a healing of the body, not just a refuat hanefesh, not just a healing of our sort of spiritual, emotional selves, but the wholeness of all of that. So if you're thinking of someone...
Yep, Autumn just asked. Thank you, Autumn, for being on top of it. If you're thinking of someone, go ahead and put their name in the chat, and after we're done reading our list, we'll add any names that we see in the chat. So we are sending healing prayers to Rick Hack, Gail Rock, Evan Richards, Carrie Schulman, Susan Schroeder, Ron Fagerstrom, Debbie Zurinsky, Dr. Richard Burns, Julie Stevenson, Toby Schreiber, Everly Ray Bierman, Corinne Char and Baby Mindel, Meredith Berkowitz, Gail Hollifield, Tom Fox, Michael Davenport, Dick Fine, Sherry Hugler O'Donnell, otherwise known as Cher DeLune, W. Hodden Carter III, Roshan Batman, Kay Wolbert, Bob Cohn, Lewis Kidder, Rhonda Banford, Andy Neiman, Tom Collinger, Zach Collinger, Judy Markey, Dr. Powers, Choco Guniva, Ann Rudy, John and Karen DeGuire, Gerald Chivets, Anita Stiffelman, Judy Medoff, Lev Reynolds, Mark Binkendorf, Marcel Pollock, Jean Isserman, Stuart Halprin, Linda Rikus, Gloria Lash, Alex Hochberg, Michelle Long, Judy Underhill, and Janice Marks.
Misha Berach Avoteinu Makor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Makor HaBracha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Rofeh HaCholim. Blessed is the source that calls us to be healers in this world. The source of healing, the source of peace. Thank you, Leslie. So we begin to end services with Aleinu. We just talked about Aleinu on Tuesday a few weeks ago, because it's kind of problematic. It's this triumphalist vision of a world in which everyone has come to recognize the truth that we see as truth, right? Which I think we've come to see as problematic. But I want to hold on to an idea that we end our services with an image of the world as it should be. Even if we don't accept this sort of other ancient image of what we meant by should be, the way that we end, right before Mourner's Kaddish, right before acknowledging the brokenness, right, the very real brokenness in our hearts and in our community, that first we have an image of Aleinu, first we have an image of the world as it is supposed to be. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latekidu la'liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kigoye haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוצר הארץ, ומושב יקרו לשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים, הוא אלוהינו והנוד, אמת מלכנו וסולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת יום והשבותה אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו echad. Don't laugh at me. Purim was late last night.
So at the very end of our service, we take a few moments to remember those who are no longer with us. This was written by Hannah Senesh.
And I know it takes a second. Sorry to interrupt. I know it takes a second to. There's a delay there. So if you've got a name you're thinking of that you're saying Kaddish for.
Thank you, Autumn.
Thank you, Autumn. Please type it in the chat in either Zoom or in wherever you're finding this. We'll see the chat.
So Hannah Senesh writes, "There's stars up above, so far away we only see their light, long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember." Remember Claire Hyman, John Kepler, Lou Ashraf, Shirley Soule, Gil Nussbaum, Fran Hyman. We remember
Shirley Main.
Thank you. Virginia Laraca, Mary Ellen Mem Mavshen, Shirley Gerchen, Jose Maria Velasco, Morton Wechsler, Carol Katz, Lindsay Margulies, Benjamin Katz, Evelyn Rudin, Jonathan Klutnick, Arlene Melser, Cindy Noster, Lizzie Pressberg, Louis Myers, Madeline Iris, Jack Oglander, Robert Fowler, Ann Alter, Estelle Tootsie Asrak, Peter Fishman, Erwin Pollack, Carl Wiley, Ann Fetterman, and Emily Engelhard. And to that list, we add the yard sites, the yearly anniversaries of Ruth M. Hexter, Sylvia Hyatt, Morris Carfeld, Walter Newman, Victor Rosenblum, Will Schumer, Wolf Vesper, Marvin Winchell, Jack Grodsky, Louis Roggins, Barbara Blank, Gail Bopp, Harold Feldman, Randy Osheroff, Mick Patton, Henry Voda, Ellen Rose, Jack Rosen, Ernest Rosenfeld, Sam Siegel, Dorothy Silverberg, Meyer Tanopolsky, Julie Upton, Ethel Shapiro Abrams, Barbara Janoff, Edward Liesenring, Dale Eason, Alice Kamen, Carl Mayer, Arnold Emil Carlson, Milton Epstein, Marcel Newman, Doris Padower, Bernard Podolsky, Hillel Rosenthal, Clara Chapnick Stern, and Leo Wolf.
Mrs. Booker and Emily Ryan Engelhardt.
Steve, we're definitely mourning with you and your family. We are. Shirley Maine. May all the memories of those we're thinking of at this time be remembered as a blessing.
Kedal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah. Ve'alma divrach chirute ve'amlich malchute. V'chayechon uvyomechon. Uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'gala uvizman karid ve'imru. Amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam u'olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom l'mamav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. V'imru. Amen. Zichronam livracha. May the memories of all of those that we are mourning, all of those that we miss, grow and grow as a source of blessing in our life.
Amen. Maybe Leslie could sing something.
Yeah, Leslie. Words of peace.
Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imru, amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Amen.
Amen. So before we officially end services, just a few announcements. This weekend is a family Chugim weekend. We will be celebrating Purim. So if you have any little ones or you know anybody with little ones, you can look on our website for more.
Or if you're just very immature also. It's really...
Yeah. Are you coming, Daniel?
So I'm going, yeah.
You can either email sc@centralreform.org or it's on our website if you want to find out about the fun things happening. Sunday, though, you should all know that the 7th graders are going to be doing the Megillah. So we normally have the Purim Carnival and the 7th graders put on a skit. They're going to do it, and it's going to be aired on Sunday. So be on the lookout for that. Tomorrow at noon is Grief Support Group, and you can contact Jamie Sintner if you want to participate. And if you need to contact Jamie and you don't have her information, just contact one of us and we'll get you in touch with her. There are 2 ways to send aid to Texas if you want to send aid to Texas. You can always donate through the Red Cross, or also you can donate through Shalom Austin for their winter storm relief. 100% of it goes to those who have been affected by the storms. My rabbinical school roommate, actually Rabbi Amy Berenson Cohen, is one of the rabbis in Austin, and she's the one we connected with to set this up. So, you know Amy. So, it's all going to the people who really need it. March 4th, there's a Tikkun Olam meeting connected with the legislative opportunity. You can look on our website. Vaccine volunteers are needed. We're working through CARE STL. So there's all sorts of options. You can look again on our website if you're able to volunteer. And Passover second night is March 28th. So we will be doing a really fun Zoom second night Seder. There will be a dinner offer that you can purchase, as well as a Seder plate.
Shabbat Kulanu was totally the dry run for second Seder.
So we'll be sending out information about how to get food and be on Zoom with all of us for Passover. But it's coming, and as always, we have Psalms at 9:30. We have our weekly classes. On Sundays, we have No Shanda, No Shame at 1. So yeah, there's a lot going on. Check the website if you want to partake in anything. We'd love to see you. Do you want to mention this before? Since it's your thing? Okay.
Olam Hashem alach b'terem kol yitzir nira li nasa b'chesako zar melech shemo nikra yainarei v'yacharei kitlor hakol levado yimloch nora
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. I love that Adon Olam. That's a Jim Goodman original Adon Olam. Rabbi Jim.
What's the name for like when you want extra joy? Easter
Chag. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. A little Easter Chag. Yeah.
Easter Chag.
Yeah. There's this tradition that you carry a little bit of yesterday's holiday into today.
No, it's today until tomorrow. It's what I was thinking. It's Purim.
But today is still Purim. Yeah,
Into
yeah,
Shabbat.
totally.
So we take a little bit of like the energy and the greatness of Purim into Shabbat. Easter Chag.
So we give each other a blessing.
Yes.
Yivirechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May we be blessed. May we be kept safe. Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. Leslie?
May the joy of Purim stick with you.
Yes.
Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
And may we all be blessed with the most precious gift, the gift of peace, peace in our hearts, and peace in our communities, and peace throughout our world.
Amen.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
Thank you, Leslie.